I bought this Lexus for its potential, not the way it looks right now. And to be honest, I feel like I may have overpaid for it, but it all comes down to what's actually wrong with this thing. Now I got it for cheap, but really not that cheap when you look at the condition of it. Let's start with what we know. It has 156,000 miles, it has transmission damage, the engine runs, and the window is cracked. Now I bought this car from the salvage auction knowing it had transmission damage. So I was expecting some crazy issue to present itself rather quickly when it arrived. And it did.
And there's the bleeding.
So here we are with this Lexus LS430. I bought it at the auction, and this is one of them vehicles you say to yourself, why do I keep doing this to myself and buying these piece of junk vehicles? The transmission damage appears to be caused by a leak, but the real question is where on the transmission is it coming from? It's coming from the front pump. And that means the transmission will have to come out. A classic, just call me Eddie, transmission removal and disassembly video to show you exactly what happened with this transmission, what went wrong, how we're going to fix it, and hopefully how we're going to get this car back together down the road. But that's not all that's wrong with this car. We also have the cosmetic issues, and one of which will make this car a real challenge to drive. The worst part about this car is the seat's broken right here. So, now after taking a closer look at what's wrong with the seat, it looks like it may be a bigger deal to fix than we thought. That's the bad. That's not good. The seat is the least of our worries right now, because regardless if the seat works or not, without a transmission, this car won't even drive, and that's kind of the most important thing about a car. So without thinking about anything else, we went ahead and started pulling the transmission out, and to be honest, we made rather quick work of it. Some of these exhaust bolts and other things were really tight and hard to break loose, but with some persistence and a lot of impacting, we gently broke everything apart. Now this is just a rear-wheel drive transmission, which means it doesn't have a T-case on the back, and there's not very many things to disconnect from it. So once we get the drive shaft disconnected, the exhaust out of our way, everything disconnected from the transmission, torque converter bolts, and bell housing bolts, this thing's ready to drop right down. Now as we slide this thing over to the bench, I can only imagine what's wrong inside of it, and we're going to find out right now. As we slide the torque converter out, we can see that the bushing has spun out on the torque converter and it's stuck on the hub. Oh no, this is not good. This means we will probably need a whole new pump assembly, but hopefully we can save the torque converter and not have to buy one of those. Alright, we got an A650E transmission out of a Lexus LS430. Didn't move forward. Let's see what's wrong. Now as we slide the pump out and take the pan off, we don't find too much damage and surprisingly not that much metal in the pan. Something got hot in there, that's for sure. Look at that. Right on top of the valve body there. Melted plastic. Looks like our forward clutch burnt up, like I thought. Burnt up forward clutch. So we got the front pump failure that leaked out fluid. Now while it's driving and leaking out fluid out of the front, this clutch will run dry on fluid, and usually you're driving forward when that happens, and that clutch is on in all forward gears, which is the first thing to burn up always when you run dry on fluid. Other than that, you know, we got the torque converter over here with the bushing stuck on it. We're not sure what we're gonna do with that. We may try to rebuild it ourselves. May see if we can buy one. May see if we can just get this bushing off of here, make sure the hub's good. So we need a pump, we're gonna need a forward drum, We already got a kit on the way, and we may need a torque converter as well. We also had a thrust washer melt, a plastic thrust washer that goes right in here. We had that melt on us, so we're gonna have to find one of those. Now with the forward drum that looks like this, these are some of the most burnt clutches I've ever seen. We're gonna need some hard parts, and as luck would have it, I have another A650 transmission right here at my shop. And it's lucky I do, because some of these parts are pretty hard to come by. Had the same exact problem as ours. The front pump bushing spun out of this thing and it was leaking out the front. You see that seal is bad. So this must be a common issue on these transmissions, but they have the same pump as the A340. You don't see that issue. So it must be something with the high horsepower or a lot of engine RPMs going through these things, causing it to spin the pump bushing and leak out the front. We're going to hope the guy that drove this one did not drive it as much as our Lexus, because if he didn't, he might still have some salvageable parts inside here, and that would be a huge help. Now when we fixed this car, we just replaced it with a good used transmission that the customer already had, so we were able to keep this one for spare parts. And I like to do that with these older cars because you can't always find parts for them. So now we got 2 converters we can use and 2 whole transmission parts that we can use. Let's see if we can find something good in this thing. There's our center support, and this is our forward and direct drum. And look at that. Yes, sir. We got a clean forward drum. And then, haha, there it is. Look at that. Oh, man. We are so lucky. We may use a lot of the parts out of this thing. And they called me a hoarder for keeping this stuff around, you know? Hoarding's not always bad. This saved me a whole lot of money, and mainly a whole lot of time. And now that we have a game plan for how we're going to fix the transmission, let's take a look at the car that is going to move down the road. So on the car itself, it's not too bad underneath here. I found a piece of plastic down in that cat right there. Actually, it was actually this cat. Yeah, there it is, look. There's a piece of plastic down in that cat, so I guess the engine maybe ingested something at one point in time, which isn't ideal, but hey, it happens. But we got a rear main seal leaking a little bit here. We'll replace that, make sure it's all good, sealed up back here. The oil pan is a little leaky, as you can see right there, not too bad. Everything else looks pretty solid. The upper oil pan looks solid. Not too much coming down from the valve covers on the sides here. There's a little bit of an antifreeze leak on the bottom side of the radiator right here, the lower hose. Suspension, everything looks good. Tires look good. So underneath, mechanically, it looks like we'll probably be okay with just the transmission. Rear differential, everything in the back looks good. The rear suspension looks good, which I was a little worried about. And we'll have to check all wheel bearings and all that stuff once we get the trans back in and we can hear it drive. For a 20-plus-year-old car, the underside of this thing does not look that bad, but nobody's ever going to see the underside unless they're working on this thing, and that'll most likely be me. So the most important thing about being able to resell this car is how it looks on the outside, and more importantly, how it looks on the inside. And to see that, we need to set it down and get it back outside. Now that we got this thing outside, we're going to take a look at everything we got to do to the inside of it and up top to make it a good car again. The worst problem about this whole interior is the seat here. When you sit in the seat, it'll just whoop, kick on back. If you look under here, it's broken down at the bottom. The steering wheel is not too bad. It's got some cracks in it up here. You got all this stuff right here on the radio and right there. So we hop in the back and lots of room back here. I mean, look at all the room I got. You fold this down and you got, you know, seat movement controls up and down, back and forward. You also got AC and air purifier controls. And then you pop this up. You got cup holders, extra storage, seat warmers for the rear, and then this, I believe, will fold the awning down back here. The coolest feature of this entire car right here is this. This is something that, you know, is unheard of. This is a cooler inside the car. So you could put an ice pack in here and then throw some drinks in here and keep them cool. You got seat memory back here. Like GMs didn't even have that in '02 in the front seats. And you can memorize your seat in the back seat back here. I'm telling you, this car was made to chauffeur people around. It was made for like a luxury taxi service. It was like made for Uber. We got this mirror hanging down right here. So we're gonna have to see if we can get that repaired. That's pretty, you know, it's pretty bad. I'm not sure how that would happen. The main things are the seat, the window, and the mirror. With all these issues, we're gonna have to fix this thing in steps. First, we'll start by getting it to drive, which involves rebuilding the entire transmission. Once we get it to move, we can then worry about the motor and the seat to make sure it's comfortable to drive and it stays driving. Pretty important, right? Then finally, once it's driving good and it's driving good for a couple weeks and it's a comfortable ride, we can truly pimp out this thing. Or just make it really nice again, which will involve fixing all the cosmetic issues that it has, including maybe getting the radio to sound right, which we haven't even tested yet, or the AC or the heat. So hopefully all that works once we get there. Until then, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook where I post weekly content about the day-to-day things that I do. You can also subscribe to this channel here as it's my main posting channel. And if you're feeling really generous, you can head over to my Patreon where I film behind-the-scenes content every other month. Thanks for watching, and whatever you do, however you do it, make sure you work hard, make sure you play hard, and most importantly, make sure you stay dirty. You can just call me Eddie.